On January 29th, the Virginia men's basketball team will clash with ACC foe the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at 6 p.m. at Purcell Pavilion. This is Who You Got. I'm Tucker Myers.
I'm Duncan McGrath.
The 12-8 Hoos will take on the 13-6 Fighting Irish. Duncan, what are your keys to the game?
I think the biggest key to this game is going to be UVA's three-point defense against the Notre Dame team that shoots the ball really well from three. Overall, UVA struggled guarding the three-point line against NC State, giving up quite a bit of three-pointers, especially quite a bit of open threes. And Notre Dame is a very, very good shooting team. Dane Goodwin has been one of the best players in the conference this year in the ACC. I would expect him to be all ACC this year. He averages over 15 points per game on nearly 50, 40, 90 numbers. Another really good shooter for Notre Dame is Liszewski, shoots nearly 50% as well. Those are two guys that UVA is going to have to do really well in defense against if the Hoos want to pull out the win in South Bend.
I definitely agree with that. Also on Notre Dame is Blake Wesley, who is also averaging 15 points a game, which Dane Goodwin and Blake Wesley both average more points than Jaden Gardner, who is the current leading scorer. So that's going to be a big issue. Along with that, I agree with your UVA defense analysis. This team, they're 11th in the conference against opponents' three-point field goal percentage. Notre Dame is one of the top three-point shooting teams in the conference, so UVA is going to have to find a way to get them off the three-point line. If they can get this game inside the paint, I think UVA has a good shot to win this game with players like Caden Shedrick, who is third in the conference in blocks, along with Reese Beekman, who is first in steals. So, I mean, if they can play a scrappy kind of game, I think UVA has a shot in this one.
I completely agree. And my other key to the game would be UVA's interior offense against Notre Dame's defense. Notre Dame's bigs aren't really that great, and they're not really known for being physical in the post. Paul Atkinson and Nate Liszewski are their two primary big men, and neither of them are really bruisers, I would say. So I think Francisco Cafaro, Caden Shedrick, and Jane Garner should all be able to have success offensively and defensively.
Yeah, also along with that, I think someone on this team really has got to step up in scoring, whether it be like during the Virginia Tech game, whether that be Francisco Cafaro, Janet Gardner for much of the season. Reese Beekman's had a couple breakout games. Armand Franklin, when he gets his shot going, that also helps a lot. But there just hasn't been like a key consistent guy that can put points on the board. And I think that's really hampered this season. So if they can really find someone to play a consistent game in this one, I think they have a big time shot to win. But they can't find consistent scoring somewhere, it's going to be a rough night.
Especially off the bench, and they haven't really had that much production off their bench. Cody Statman's had a couple of heat check kind of games, and Caden Shedrick's done pretty well off the bench in the last couple of games, but that's going to be a big key to their success to beat the Irish in South Bend.
Along with this, this is also a key game in the ACC. UVA is currently 7th, Notre Dame is currently 3rd in the ACC. UVA can win this game. They still have hope to maybe make a push to March Madness. If they lose this game, they're going to have a lot of work to do. So, Duncan, what do you think the outlook is for this UVA team?
I still think they can make the NCAA tournament. I know that they're not real likely to make the tournament, and if they wouldn't, they definitely wouldn't make it if it started today. But they can still make it. The games are still in front of them. They still play plenty of the top teams in the ACC, and if they can get on a run, they can still, their goals of reaching the NCAA tournament are still in front of them.
Definitely agree with that. Early in the ACC season so far, UVA hasn't played many of the top teams. They have dropped some of the games they should have won. They also have a bunch of key losses, whether it be against Navy, whether it be against JMU. They also have a good win against Providence, who's 17-2 on the year. So that will definitely help their resume. Along with that, they still got to play Duke twice. They still got to play Miami twice. They still got a game against Florida State. I mean, they still have work to do, but there's also an opportunity for them to succeed.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think UVA is also a team that they've shown that they can beat anybody. Now, they can also lose to anybody, which is not great, but I think that they definitely have the talent to really contend with anybody in the conference.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this defense, whether you have a great defense, you're going to have a shot in every game. The offense, shots might not fall, but if this defense can at least hold teams under to about, I'd say a good number, about 43, 44%, they have a shot in every game. If they get above 50%, UVA has a lot of work to do in that regard. I mean, NC State, we saw that game. NC State shot above 60%. Even though UVA shot so well from deep, that didn't matter at all in that game. So I think the defense really got to keep putting pressure on the opposing offenses.
As long as Tony Bennett is the coach of Virginia, I would not count out them at all. to be a team that can make the NCAA tournament.
So going back to the Notre Dame game, Duncan, what are your predictions for the game?
Despite Notre Dame being tied for second in the ACC with a 6-2 record, I do think UVA pulls off the upset and gets the win. UVA has done very well against Notre Dame in the past, has won 6 straight against the Irish, and I think UVA matches up reasonably well against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's three-point shooting does concern me a little bit, but I think Virginia will play really good defense against them and find a way to get a big win.
All right, I think this game is going to come down to how many points are really scored this one. Notre Dame could get scorched at the Hoos. I don't think they're going to have enough to really combat that. This game is low scoring and it's a good defensive effort. I think UVA can pull this off, but it's just so hard to really think that this defense can hold up the three-point field goals for Notre Dame, because what we saw against NC State, Notre Dame also, like we said before, is one of the top three-point shooting teams in the conference. It's just really hard to envision the Hoos pulling this off. If they do, they have a shot still to make the tournament. If they don't, they have a lot of work to do. I just think Notre Dame's going to pull this one out.
I'm Duncan McGrath.
And I'm Tucker Myers.
And this has been Who You Got.